Great. All right. So, welcome everyone and good evening. And thank you for joining this webinar. We hope you find it enlightening and entertaining as well. Uh, this webinar is basically focused on helping parents and teachers start thinking about data science in a very different way, and also start thinking about how you should orient your children, especially middle schoolers, uh, to start thinking more in terms of data. Data is everywhere. If you know, in the last few years, especially, there has been an explosion of data. There is way too much data available, and that has created a huge amount of opportunities for everyone to exploit this data. What it means is that we have access to a very large amount of data that allows us to make decisions in a very, very different way. But at the same time, just given that there is so much data, it also means that uh, we also have to be able to sort and analyze this data and understand what is the right data, what is useful for us, and how to pick that right data and how to make the right judgment calls using that data. And now we are not talking about a few kilobytes or megabytes or even gigabytes of data. We are talking about terabytes and exabytes of data. So that's huge, huge amounts of data. And that also opens up a very large number of career opportunities for people. We are not just talking about data scientist as a career. Anything to do with people who are using data is a career opportunity. So today, if you see, pharma companies are using data, doctors are using data, telecom companies are using data. Everybody is using data in different ways to make business decisions, to make marketing decisions, to make various kinds of decisions, right? And for that, the ability to manage data, the ability to find the right kind of data, and the ability to think about data in a very different way and not just say that here are numbers and I don't understand numbers is very, very important. And we believe that starting with children at this age can help them start thinking about data very differently. At this age, children are actually, if you see, they are very, very inquisitive, they are very, very curious, they have excellent imagination. By the time you reach our age, we start becoming jaded, right? But at this age, the kids, their curiosity is unlimited, their imagination is unlimited. And if we are able to turn that and channel that in the right direction, they will be able to see data in a whole new light. And that's our goal. So what we are trying to do by orienting all of you here in this webinar is to show you how data can be seen very differently, how companies, organizations, and people are using data in a very, very different way. And that's what we call really as data science, and how we should start orienting our children on those lines. And then we will also talk a little bit about what Counting Well is doing in that area as well. But before we go there, without much ado, I will introduce Anita ma'am. Anita ma'am is an academician par excellence. We love her because she loves mathematics, she loves teaching, and she loves students. And that is a great combination. And she comes with an extensive experience, not just in academics, but also in curriculum. She is a member of the General Council of NCRT. She is part of the Mathematics Curriculum Board of CBSE. She's part of the Bharatiya Shiksha Board. So she comes with extensive experience in education. She's a principal of SD Public School, Delhi. And I don't have any more to say. I think I will just leave it to her, and you will see her stellar presence will bring all her experience to the fold, and you will be able to start seeing data in a new light. And I'm sure that what you will take away from this webinar is that you will be able to start talking to your children in that tone and in that way of speaking, and start getting them to start looking at data in a very, very different way. So I'll hand it over to you, Anita ma'am. But just before that, one thing, this webinar is focused for parents and teachers, and it is focused on children of the middle school. So we will not be talking about data science at a level of college and higher education. So if you have questions around that, we will park those. but definitely we would love to answer any questions that parents have in terms of how they should start thinking about orienting their children, or how teachers and schools should start focusing and start talking about applying mathematics in the space of data science. So over to you, Anita ma'am.
Thank you, Nirmal. Thank you for your kind introduction. And now I think all the parents, students, and many school teachers are also here. They must be waiting what is all going to happen here. You have already explained a lot about the data scientist and its and their importance. Uh, I would like all of you to answer one question. You may be writing in the chat box if it is available to you. Otherwise, you can think in your mind that if I ask you what is the most essential skill, most essential 21st century skill, then how will you answer this question? The most essential 21st century skill. I think all of you must be thinking the same which I am thinking, that problem solving is the most essential skill which is required. And if problem solving is the most essential skill, then how we can develop that? I am going to share with you a story of two friends. And this story started in 2008 in Paris. So these two friends, they were attending a conference, Travis and Cam, and when they came out of the conference venue late night, they were not able to find the cab for a long time. So they were wondering that how they can get the cab, when they will be able to get the cab, and when they will be reaching their home. So an idea clicked to them. And the idea was that is it possible to book the cab on telephone? So this idea, this problem, actually the problem gave rise to the idea. They faced certain problem, and that problem turned into the idea, and this idea gave rise to the Uber cabs. So I am sharing my screen with you. So we can say today that Uber drives you, but data science drives Uber. And how this is happening, I will give you a few glimpses. So to start with that, they started finding some data. And of course, what kind of data is required if you want to start a Uber-like service? They try to find out the number of available drivers in the area. They try to find out the number of vehicles by their type which were available in that area. They try to find out what could be the possible number of requests for the rides. And then they also try to find out the traffic data from Google. So all of you are using GPS, and that GPS collects large amount of data and always keep track of your locations and the positions. So they use that data of the current location and destination, what time of the day people are traveling, in which area they are traveling, what are their office timings, what are the timings when they are coming back, and so on. But all this data anybody can collect. You and me can also collect. But this raw data may not be very useful for us. So what more is required? So after collecting this data, we shall have some idea that how to use this data so that it could be useful for our purpose. So the next important thing is to think mathematically about the data collected. So they could have developed this kind of app only when they know what is the demand of the vehicle, at what time it is demanded, and how much supply can be made, and how the pricing can be fixed. So they To calculate the demand, they just try to identify cart type plus request plus location. To calculate the supply, they have taken into consideration driver's availability, then the car type which is required, and the location in which area the vehicle has to move from one place to another place. And then, of course, by using this data of demand and supply, price can be calculated. So demand minus supply plus traffic conditions was used to calculate the price. But the thing is that the data which is to be collected for such a kind of app is not a small data. It is huge data, and it is not possible to make such calculations easily. So because these people, they need to predict the destination, they need to predict the price, they need to see that predict the purchase, that how many people would be would like to book the cab. So this whole data is used. It can be used only when there is a right blend of mathematics and technology both. So they use the data for the predictions, users traveler data plus time of the day plus location. This is used to calculate, to predict actually the destination. So you must be surprised that whenever you open your apps of GPS, or whenever you open your Uber apps or any other app of this kind to book the cab, you will find certain recommendations. App already knows that this at this particular time you generally visit your office, so they give you that choice of the destination. Similarly, if at some other point they know the Uber your phone is able to find out that during this part of the day you generally visit the restaurant or the mall, or you go back to your home. So the destination prediction is very easy for these apps. Then these apps are also able to tell you the price sometime, because this price prediction depends upon the demand and the supply. So sometimes you may feel that the area in which you are, there is not a heavy traffic jam. There may not be many people who are booking the cab, but still you find that the price is surged. And the reason might be that because of these apps, they are able to predict that there is traffic on this route ahead, and the demand is expected to increase, so the prices are also increased. Similarly, for purchase prediction, again, you must have noticed, suppose you and your brother both have the same app. So one of you might be very frequently using the app and the other is not. So you may find that on certain purchases, one of you may get some kind of incentives or the discount. Maybe you are using app more frequently, so you are getting the discount, but your brother is not using frequently, so he or she he may not be getting that kind of discount. So these kind of predictions can also be made. But how all this can be possible? So whatever we are talking actually right now is basically the data science. And using this data science, you will be surprised that the idea came into 2008 and this is 2021. So in such a short span, this company is now of worth of more than $75 billion. And so you can see that Uber people, this Uber duo, was able to convert data into currency. And it is nowadays rightly said that data is the new oil. So we will be now moving on the journey of converting. We will try to learn that how this oil can be turned into currency when it is used wisely. But before we start on that journey, I would like all of you to see this picture, observe this picture, and just think about it, that what you are able to observe here, what ideas are pitching when you are looking at this picture. I think some of you must be thinking about the traffic jams. Some of you must be thinking about the quality of road. You also might think about the kind of vehicles which are moving on the road. You might be wondering about the traffic rules here in this part of the city. You must be thinking that how much pollution these cars, these vehicles must be making. So many ideas must be coming to your mind. You might be having several opinions based on this picture, but no opinion is leading to any final conclusion, because you don't know that what exactly the problem is, what you are focusing on. So you are not able to reach to any concrete solution. Now let's watch this another picture here. You can find some numbers here. So if you just look at these numbers, what kind of ideas are clicking to your mind? Now these numbers, they must be again giving you many ideas. They look like the years, all 4-digit numbers. So they might be representing the timeline of some important events, some important developments. They might also be the cab numbers. Generally, the cab numbers are also 4-digit numbers. You can also try to, some of you must be trying to find out that some kind of sequence is there and what could be the next number in this sequence. This idea may also come to your mind. So again, and some of you must be thinking that all these are the vehicle numbers which are parked in a special parking lot. So again, while just looking at the numbers, you cannot reach to any conclusion, because all these numbers, they are given here without any context. Nothing, no information is given about these numbers. So you will be thinking about these numbers based on your previous experiences or something which is there in your subconscious mind. So that means the two slides which we have shown here, either in the form of the pictures or the numbers, they are giving you lots of things to think, but they're giving you lots of ideas, but they are not able to make you reach at any conclusion. So that means if any data is given to you without any context, it is not of any use. You are getting lots of data in these two pictures, but they are not of any use for you, because you cannot draw any inference. So let us see now this another picture. If you see this picture, now some data is very clearly, you can infer certain things here. You know that on one place, on one side, the brand of different cars is given, and then their sales in the year 2019 and in the year 2020, especially in the month of March, is given. And then you can also see the percentage changes. So on the basis of this data, you can find lots of you can draw lots of inferences, like you can say that which brand of the car has maximum sale. You can say that which car sale is declined with minimum percentage. You can also think about which brand has incurred maximum loss, and so on. So this is a data which is organized in a particular style, and it is giving very, very specific information. This is with respect to the context. It is clearly talking about the decline in the March sales of different brands of cars. So you can draw some conclusions, some inferences from this slide. This means that a data can be useful to us only when we can turn into the insightful informations. Otherwise, data is of no use to us. There was all of you have heard about Hewlett Packard Company. So its former president, Carly Fiorina, he gave one statement that data means understanding. And our goal should be to turn data into information and information into insight. So you must have understood by this particular arrangement of the data that why it is important to turn data into information and information into the insight, because this transformation of data into the insightful information give rise to absolutely new domain of knowledge. And we are talking about that new domain of knowledge today, and that is data science. Now, I would like all of you to ask another question, that have you ever tried to collect any data? Knowingly or unknowingly, I think all of you must have done this exercise. You must have collected data at one or the other point. Suppose if you want to buy a pair of shoes, you will not be just buying it, going at one shop and just purchasing any of the shoe. You always try to visit 2-3 shops. You might be checking the rates from the various e-commerce websites. You might be checking about the different brands. You might be checking about their prices and so on. So we all collect data. But why do we collect the data? Because if I talk in this particular case, that why the data is collected about this purchase of the shoe, then the simple reason is that you want value for the money. And since you want value for the money, so you want to make informed choices. You don't want to buy anything just for sake of buying. If it is of no use to you, if you cannot use it wisely, then there is no purpose of buying. So we all collect data for some or the other purpose, but we shall all be clear that the data is like oil and you cannot use unrefined oil. Can we use? Even when the oil is extracted, it is refined in the chemical with various chemicals in the laboratories. So it cannot be used in the raw form as it is. Similarly, with data, we cannot use any unrefined data. We need to convert the data into the information by cleaning and by processing. And there is one big difference between the oil and the data, and that is oil depletes after the use. When it is consumed, oil resources are depleting, but data is not depleting at all. On the contrary, it is increasing day by day, and you are contributing in enhancing the data day by day. You are the producer of the data. So before I talk about this slide, I would like to ask another question to all of you. Do you think that whatever data you choose, and from any data can be you can draw useful information? If I ask you to predict, suppose two countries, there is a cricket match between the two countries, and if you are asked to predict which country is going to win, so how will you predict it? Either you will be judging the players' performance, you must be knowing about their previous performances, the previous pattern, your own experiences with whenever you watch the match of those teams. So what kind of performances were there in the past? So you always try to predict about the winning of any team based on your previous experiences or some past records. And on the basis of that, you try to analyze that, and you try to infer that what could be the result of this particular match. Then again, I would like to ask you another thing, because here you can see a slide that data could be useful only when it is organized, it can be analyzed, and you can draw inference. That's true. But how you can draw the inferences? Can every data help you to draw inference? Can you always draw the right inference? Now, uh, uh, just think about this situation. Suppose you have watched 5 matches of any cricket match. I am talking about cricket because it is I think the most popular game. And say Virat Kohli is playing. So, and this is the time between say July to September. In this period, you have watched 5 cricket matches, and you have also observed that whenever Virat Kohli is making century, there is heavy rain. So on this, based on this experience and this observation, can you infer that Virat Kohli's century always going to lead heavy rain? Can we infer that? No. Because just watching 4 to 5 matches in particular time of the year cannot help you to generalize this, that whenever Virat Kohli is going to make the century, it is going to result in the heavy rain. So that means if we draw inferences, then we have to be very judicious also, and we shall use our thinking while concluding anything from the given data. So you cannot infer such kind of things based on very small data, based on very small observations. You cannot infer the conclusions. So whenever the predictions has to be made, the forecastings has to be done, very huge amount of data has to be taken into the consideration. So for example, whenever we try to talk about say forecasting earthquakes, about forecasting the weather, or about any other disaster, then at that time the small amount of data, or 4, 5, 7 observations cannot help you to generalize. You cannot reach to any conclusion. So sometimes data can be deceiving also if you are not able to apply your thinking skills while inferring from the data. Sometimes whatever you can observe in the data, uh, whatever you can see, this may not be the only observation about the data. I want to give you a very, very interesting example. This happened during the Second World War. At that time, when all countries, they were participating in the war, so of course every country must be preparing the winning strategies. So in US also, 3 teams were working on finding the winning strategies for the war, or just to see, to calculate that how the damages can be minimized. So one of the team was the team of the mathematicians and the statisticians, and a problem was put forth to them, and the problem was that uh, the Defense Academy people, they had the data that whenever any plane is coming from the war, then they found that they are, especially when they were coming from the Europe, they found that there were lots of bullet holes in the plane. So they tried to make a data that on which parts of the bullets planes were hit. So this was about engine, then about fuselage, then on wings, and so many other parts. So they came with a problem to this team. They said that we have found that our planes during the engagements with the Europe, they shot hit by the bullets, and we want to armor our planes. And how shall we armor our plane? Because if we are armoring the whole plane, the plane becomes very heavy, and maybe the efficiency will reduce and it is also going to increase the cost. So what should be done? So one of the professors who was sitting there, he said that instead of arming the whole plane, you can armor only that part of the plane where maximum bullets are shot. So they kept the data and they found that the maximum bullets, they were shot at fuselage. So data was given to them, but there was one statistician there. There was one professor who was sitting there. He was observing the whole discussion for around 6 hours, but he did not utter a word. So that head of the defense asked him that his name was Abraham Wald. So he said, Mr. Wald, you are not participating in the discussion. What is your opinion? He said, I am just thinking about one situation. See how he connected the data with the situation. That data there was showing that the maximum bullets were shot at fuselage part. So maximum damage was done to the fuselage. But he was thinking, he said that whenever we visit to the hospitals to meet the wounded soldiers, we generally find that they are either hit at their arms or their legs are wounded or some other body part is wounded. But we don't find any soldier in the hospital whose chest is wounded. So this means if the bullet hits at the chest, then the person cannot survive. So those people, they are not coming back as wounded soldiers in the hospital. So here also I'm just thinking, where are the missing bullets? So which part of the plane is hit by the bullet where the plane is not, which is damaging the whole plane and plane is not coming back. So that means he was observing the data, but at the same time, he was also thinking about that data to see that what is the missing information here. So that means that data cannot be used unless until you try to find out the hidden informations through that data. So every time it is important that before you make any important decision based on any data, your observations should be very, very careful and thoughtful. Now, I want to show you this example. I will be discussing certain examples where you can see that how the amount of data, when it keeps on scaling when you move into the different situations, and why do you need this data science kind of thing. Suppose if you want to make a decision to purchase a car for yourself, for your family. So what kind of information you will look for? You will try to see what your budget is. You will try to see that what kind of car you want to take. Is it a commercial car or the family car which you are requiring? What is the capacity of the car? You will also see what is the mileage. You will also see that how much will be the cost of the maintenance, because it is easy to purchase a costly car. But if the maintenance is also very costly, then it is not possible to maintain it for a long time. You may also be liking to see the different features of the car. You will also see which brand you are interested in. You will also try to find out the service centers. So in time of need, whether you can get the services easily or not. You will also see in the reputation of the brand in terms of the customer care. You would also like to see resale value. So see, just for your own purpose, you just want to purchase a car, and for how many kind of informations you will look for. So even if you are purchasing a car, so much data is to be looked into. Now, if you just uh, perceive another situation, you must have heard about Mr. Ratan Tata, that one day when he was in a night, when he was traveling, when he was moving in a very heavy rain, he found that one family of 4 members was on the bike in such a heavy rain, and it gave him the idea that how I can help these families. So he thought that I am making the cars, and let me now try to make a car which can be useful for these families, which is who can afford the low budget cars. So uh, he immediately took the decision of making Tata Nano. So while he was making this decision, he was clear about one thing, that uh, in our country, so many families are there, millions of families are there who may not be able to afford a car which is ranging from say 3 lakhs onwards. But if the car can be made in the price of the bike, then they will be able to make full use of it, and for them the life would be comfortable. So he wanted to manufacture a car. Now see, if somebody wants to manufacture a car, then what kind of information would be required by him? So complete market study has to be done. Now in this particular case, I will not talk about the market study, because he had a very clear idea that the number of people who are coming in the uh, middle class group or the low income group are more in our country. So the customer segmentation is also required. This is for general. If anybody wants to make manufacture any car, then he would also like to see that what age group purchase car more. So sometimes the manufacturing also depends upon that kind of data is there. So pattern, like in which months the sale is maximum, spending capacity of buyers can also be seen. Trend analysis on the basis of the news or social medias or global issues can also be seen. Then cost of raw material, and if somebody is setting up a unit in a particular area, they would also like to study that what are the state regulatory laws and policies, then what is the availability of the labor in that particular area, local conditions, their needs and demands, and so many things. Now you see this, that the level of information required is increased in this case. And if I just focus on one thing, that is the trend analysis on the basis of the news, social medias, and the global issues. So this trend analysis, how you can study the trend analysis. For this, lots of information is available through your conversations on the social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and so on. Lots of information is available through GPS. You know that on almost all the tools now are installed with the chips or the sensors. So your every information is tracked. Even if you are using the car locks, the information is tracked. So by using all the information, if the data of all the people who are using the vehicle is collected or who want to purchase the vehicle is collected, then the information which is obtained can be arranged in millions of rows and columns. Huge amount of information can be collected, but this huge amount of information has to be cleaned, because every information is not of use. So that means after collecting the huge amount of information, it is to be sorted out. And this could be sorted based on certain algorithms, based on certain logics, and so on. So that means the data has to be stored first. First thing, how to collect so much information, and then after collecting so much information, how to manage that information. And managing information means sorting information, cleaning information, then processing that information using certain mathematical algorithms. And once this is done, then at the end, the analysis of this information is required. How much uh, information is useful and what kind of results can be drawn. Uh, I was talking about the trend analysis. So you can see that every day you are contributing and producing large amount of information, large amount of data. And it is said that 90% of the word data has been created in the last 2 years. And over 2.5 quintillion bytes of data is created every single day. So all of you are creating data in every millisecond. When I was working on this problem, I just wrote car in the Google search engine and I found more than 7 billion results. And these results, they were updated just 0.81 seconds ago. So you can see the huge amount of information which is created every millisecond, and to make wise use of this amount of information actually requires the scientific approach, the mathematical thinking, and the technological support. So the data storing also requires a kind of technology. Data managing, which I have already said, the data cleaning process with the help of the mathematical algorithms can be termed as data managing. So that again requires a specific type of skill and knowledge. And then on the basis of that, data analysis, drawing specific information, and not only the specific information, but the useful inferences are to be made from this data analysis. So this whole process which we are clubbing as data storing, data managing, and data analyzing can be termed as the data science. So in class, if I talk about the school studies, right from the class 1, children start learning something about data handling, and by the time they reach to the class 6 or 7, they are able to handle the data by doing this much, that they are able to collect data, then organize data, then analysis of data, draw inferences, and decision making. If you see data sciences, then it also has the same steps. So why we are saying roadmap from data handling to data science? Because in data science and data handling, that data handling which is learned in the school at the school level, it deals with very small amount of data, very specific information is given. But when you talk about the data sciences, a step is increased. Number one, first you need to define your purpose. As in case of Uber Duo, they were able to identify a problem, they came up with the idea, and based on their idea they started collecting the data. So the purpose was clear to them, and after that, after defining the purpose, when the data is collected, the huge amount of data could be there. So storing of data, management of that data, and then analysis of that data is very important. So once the conclusion is drawn, the decision is to be taken by some client or some organization based on that, uh, because it is quite possible that a business organization may have the problem and the purpose, but they may not have the ability or the competency to collect that data and to analyze that data. So they might be requiring the help of certain professionals, and those professionals, they can help in analysis of that data and help in drawing the conclusions. But based on their conclusions, what decision is to be made has to be taken by the organization. So these conclusions has to be communicated to the client or the organizations. So whatever we have seen so far, in the light of that, we can observe one thing, that data analysis, when done in a scientific manner, it always helps to improve the quality of life. It always helps us to make informed decisions. It always helps to sense problems before they turn into a crisis. You will be surprised to know that now it is quite possible to predict that how many floods would be there, how many earthquakes would be there even after 500 years. So that we can strategize our policies accordingly. So it also helps to strategize solutions to the problems and to get the desired outcomes. And of course, whenever you have any argument with anybody, if you are backed with data, you can always make your point nicely and strongly. So data always back up your arguments. But on the basis of all this, I will say that now all of you shall be the data thinking people. That means whatever data is there, just don't follow the data, try to think about the data. And if you are able to do that, you might be able to come up with a very nice solution of any problem. And you could be the change maker, because data science is the science which has changed the course of all researches, of the industry, of the economics of any country, and of the policy making process also. uh, I can say that there are three types of people when we talk about the data. They may be the data driven people, they may be the data informed people, or data aware people. Now, when you are data driven, then you always know what question to ask, and you seek data accordingly, and then you make decision accordingly. You will be able to relate with this if the children are here. You know that whenever you have to sit for the examination of any class, you always try to see that what kind of questions are there which are generally asked in the examination. You try to see the previous year's question papers. You try to make out that from which topics most of the questions are asked and what type of questions are asked. So you try to collect the data, you infer your decision, you infer your conclusions based on the previous year's question papers, and then you start your preparation accordingly. So data driven people are there who learn to make objective judgments using data when they don't have enough data, but they learn to ask questions, validate, and seek more data. And then there are data informed people, because they are able to read the data properly. And reading data does not mean just to read for the sake of reading. That simply means that you can interpret the data in right context. And sometimes this happens that data does not come with its context, and you need to apply the context to it. If I simply ask you, um, what is the weight of Ayush? I'm not giving you any information. Now, this question will trigger your thinking. You will think that no other information is given. How can I answer question? But still I compel you. No, you give me the answer. What is the height of Ayush? So you will start answering this question based on your some previous experience, that okay, if this kind of question is asked to me, now this name might seems to be comparatively new. So maybe this name has become popular in past, say 5-10 years. So that means this person may be in this particular age group. So if the age group is this, the average height in this particular age group would be like this, and you may answer the question like this. So that means the complete information is not given, but you are trying to add context to it, and you are trying to interpret as per your context. So be data informed. Always try to see that what kind of information is given and how you can find the related informations. And data aware people, they always know that what kind of data is available in the different forms, and then they try to identify the information, they try to elicit the information from that. So just be aware of what kind of data is available to you. You can use data in two different ways, two different ways. You can either work on the given data and try to infer that decision from that, or you can think about the problem first, and then according to the problem, you can try to collect data, and you can try to make use of that data as per your need. So I will say that all of you shall start thinking about data, because data is the future. So if you really want to be successful in future, start thinking about data and start thinking about data very logically and analytically, so that you can make your career in this emerging field. So now would like to share at the end that how the data is being used in various fields. It is basically used for predictions, like predicting solar flares, timings, duration, intensity, and localization. So that means our physicists and scientists and geographers, they are using data. Then predicting earthquakes, local weathers, then weather on Mars also. And this is being predicted to identify what could be the best time to land there. Uh, Even on the basis of the tweets, the kind of the conversations are there available on the Instagrams or the tweets or the Facebooks. On the basis of that, uh, the efforts are made to predict ROITs also. Then designing matrices to predict student success or employee attrition. Then prediction of book sales, determining the correct price elasticity, whether a specific book should be accepted or rejected by a publisher, and so on. So on the basis of the pattern observations and the huge data which is collected, these kind of predictions are made. Even for the automated piloting, customized patient specific medications and diets, predicting and legally manipulating elections, sports bets, uh, predicting oil demands, oil reserves, oil prices, impact of coal usage, predicting volcano risks to evacuate populations or cancel flights while minimizing expenses caused by these decisions, uh, predicting 500-year floods to build dams. And then actuarial science is the science which is now being used by many sectors, especially the insurance companies are using actuarial sciences to predict the death and health expenditures, and then to create new insurance policies to compute the premiums and so on. So lots of field are there which are making use of the data sciences. And with this, I would hand over to Mr. Nirmal to talk about they have come up with some data science course, which is very, very interesting. And he will be telling you more about that.
Sure. Thank you, ma'am. Fantastic presentation. So before we end, just a very quick introduction to what we are doing at Counting Well to help students, especially children of middle school, get into the data thinking mode and start getting introduced to data science. Ma'am, if you could go up to the previous slide.
Oh, shall I show the slide?
Yes, yes, please. Thank you. So,
Sorry, something wrong. Yeah.
okay, looks like you're in a hurry.
No. Actually, I
Uh,
think I'm not using the right buttons. Okay.
All right. So basically, we are starting this course on the 10th of July. And this course is meant for students of class 6, 7, 8. And it will introduce middle schoolers to start thinking about data in a whole new light. We will take the basic concepts that you learn in the school, things like pie charts and histograms and just data tables and so on. And we will walk you through the whole process of how you can take this data and turn that into something more meaningful. We will go beyond simply looking at a chart or looking at numbers and saying, pick this number or pick that number or draw a histogram and so on. We will start drawing conclusions. We will start making predictions using that data. And you will learn how data can be used, how different pieces of data, as they get introduced, as the amount of data increases, how your decisions and how your judgment changes, and how you make those judgment calls. So the idea is to introduce the children to the whole thought process of data, to the thought process of being able to look at data, to analyze data, to think about probability, to think about the whole aspect of chance, and to make predictions and forecasts using data. So we hope that using this course, the children will start getting on that path, and this will become an extension of the theory that they learn in the classroom. What they learn in classroom is a lot of theoretical concepts, and we will teach them how to apply those concepts in real scenarios, and how to use the data that they gather or they learn together, and use that into making something very, very useful out of it. So that's our goal. Our goal is not just to teach mathematics. That's what Counting World is built upon, as a platform for everybody to learn math. But beyond that, we will now start helping children learn how to apply the math they learn, and how to start using that in their real life. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate all of you being in this webinar. We will now go over to Q&A. There were a few questions which some people had submitted earlier. So I will take that up first. And then if any of you have any other questions, we will take a few questions after that. So I hope that we have answered a lot of questions that you all had in mind. But just a few things which had come up is from an academic perspective. One of the questions we had is, from which class something like this should be implemented? Uh, and I would think that some, starting at as early as possible, especially to exploit the whole natural curiosity and the imaginative powers of children. uh, it can help get them started on the data science route very, very early on. uh, Ma'am, do you have any comments on that?
Actually, in schools, we start teaching data handling right from the class one.
Right.
But how that data handling plays an important role in the life, the teachers need to teach that too. So how this could enhance the problem solving skills and the decision making skills, that we need to start early in the class. And if you are doing that, then you are leading them towards the you're preparing them to pursue the data science course in the future.
Great. Thank you, ma'am. And the other question related to that was that what subjects to be taken in higher class when somebody is in class 6 or 7 and the child wants to become an actuarial scientist?
Okay. So I think basically they want to ask whether they can take maths, whether the maths is compulsory or not
Oh, yes,
before
we
they
have many
pursue.
questions around that. Is maths really needed for data science?
See, now there are two things. One is, if you really want to go to the actuarial sciences and you want to follow the courses in the statistics, then yes, maths is required. But if you want to go for the data sciences, then anybody can enter into that field. But you need to hone your skills. You need to learn some basic mathematics, and more than mathematics, mathematical thinking is required. So whether you are able to think logically and rationally about anything or not. But to help everyone, the CBSE has also started a new course in the class 11th, and this is the course on applied maths. If you just go through the content of this course, then maximum part is devoted to the statistics, as statistics is the base of the data sciences. So, and this course is available. This course can be pursued by any child, whether you are the student of the commerce or the humanities or the sciences. Anybody can opt for this course. And even if you have done basic mathematics in the class 11, class 10th. So everybody is eligible to pursue this course. So you can go for this option also.
Great. Thank you for that, ma'am. And then there is another question: who supports the training program if schools wants to start? Obviously, Counting Well has a course. There would be some others out there as well, I'm sure. But we believe that we should build on the foundations of mathematics. So that's the course that we have started. And then there are some more questions which have just come in. So I'll just read out the first five or six. I think that's all we have the time for today. We don't want to hold everybody for too long. But there is a very interesting question which has come up, and I think we should definitely look at that. So somebody is asking, by using data analysis, predict which questions will come in the class 10th board exam. What do you say?
For them, I will say that just focus on the course content, which is given in the NCERT books. So questions will be based on that only.
Yeah, you cannot expect a teacher to tell you what is the what to plan for. But a lot of children try to do this, that you look at the last 10 years question papers and last 5 years question papers and try to make some predictions. Sometimes those predictions come true because there are some topics which the educators believe are important, and that is why the questions are focused around those topics. So that's how you can identify certain topics or certain areas that you should pay more attention to. But definitely don't use that and gamble your marks or gamble your board exams. Please make sure that you study well, and please make sure that you focus on studying all parts of your syllabus. So we'll move on. There are some questions about the course. So I will just quickly say that this course is for all users of Counting Well. Uh, People can download the Counting Well app. You can go to www.countingwell.com and download the app, and you can start the course right away. Uh, and all the details and details of the course are available on the Counting Well website. Just go to www.countingwell.com. Um, so there are questions around mathematics which we have already answered, and I hope that that clears the air for everyone. Is mathematics required? Some components of mathematics are required, but as Anita ma'am said, it's the mathematical thinking which is extremely important and which is required. So I think
Ms.
that is.
Nirmal, I think some people are also asking what is the fee of the course.
Yes, the fee of the course and how do you participate. So to participate, like I said, all you have to do is download the Counting Well app. It is available on App Store as well as Play Store. As far as the fee is concerned, there is no fee. As an introduction, we are not charging anything extra for the course. If you are a Counting Well user, you can start the course from 10th of July. So I think that pretty much covers all the questions. So I think we will wind up now, ma'am. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time, and fantastic presentation, ma'am, as always. Uh, I hope that it throws a lot of light and enlightens everybody who have participated. And thank you all the participants. We appreciate your time. And if you have any other questions, you can go to countingwell.com. You have the links to contact us there, and you can always reach out to us. So good evening, everyone. Thank you. And we will wrap it up.